A mother looks at her newborn son and feels nothing but fear. No warmth, no love, just a cold, creeping certainty that something is deeply wrong with the child she just gave birth to. By the end of this movie, that fear will lead to a death, a transformation, and an ending so unsettling that audiences are still arguing about what it really means. This is Nightborn, and here's the ending, explained. Nightborn is a 2026 fantasy horror film directed by Hanna Bergholm, the filmmaker behind the acclaimed horror movie Hatching. This time, Bergholm takes her unsettling, body horror style and points it directly at one of the most sacred images in film, motherhood. Starring Seidi Haarla and Rupert Grint, Nightborn asks a question most horror movies are too afraid to ask. What happens when a mother doesn't love her baby? And what happens when her instincts turn out to be right? Saga and John move into her grandmother's old, half-ruined house deep in the Finnish countryside. It's remote, it's overgrown, and it's exactly the kind of place you'd expect old folklore to still be alive. The couple dreams of raising a family here, filling the house with children and laughter. But then, something happens in the woods. While the couple makes love among the trees, the forest itself seems to react. The trees shift, the ground stirs. It's subtle at first, almost romantic, but it plants a seed of dread that never fully goes away. When their son is born, Saga immediately senses something is off. He's covered in unusual body hair. He's painfully sensitive to sunlight, and when she tries to breastfeed him, he bites her hard enough to draw blood. Doctors tell her the baby is perfectly healthy. Her own mother tells her she was just as difficult as an infant. Everyone around Saga insists she's imagining things, that she's simply struggling with new motherhood. But Saga can't shake the feeling that her baby isn't looking at her like a mother, he's looking at her like prey. She refuses to call him, she calls the baby it. That's where everything changes. At the naming ceremony, Saga blurts out a name nobody agreed on, Kuura, meaning frost. John is stunned. But somehow, it fits. As Kuura grows, the horror escalates. He rejects milk completely, but when Saga accidentally cuts her hand, he licks the blood from the floor without hesitation. Quietly, secretly, she begins feeding him cow's blood instead, hiding it from her husband. John, desperate to believe his son is simply quirky, refuses to see what's right in front of him. Then comes the moment that confirms Saga's darkest suspicion. Kuura touches an iron rod, and it burns him instantly. Saga remembers her grandmother's old stories about iron keeping trolls away from this land. And that's when it clicks. Her son isn't just unusual. He may not be entirely human at all. Here's the surprising part. The film has been telling us this from the very beginning. That strange moment in the woods, where the trees seem to move, that wasn't atmosphere. That was conception. Saga's own late grandmother was obsessed with the supernatural and fenced the property with iron to keep something out. And Saga herself was once described as a difficult, almost feral child. Bergholm is quietly suggesting something chilling. This isn't the first time this has happened in Saga's bloodline. Kuura might not be an accident. He might be inheritance. As Saga bonds more deeply with her son, her own body starts to change too. Her nails darken. She starts hissing instead of speaking. She physically aches when she's separated from Kuura, as if some invisible thread connects them. She isn't just raising a troll child anymore. She's becoming something else herself. The biggest twist comes next. John finally reaches his breaking point. He accuses Saga of destroying their son, of being incapable of love, of turning their family into something monstrous. He decides to take Kuura and leave for good, grabbing the child and heading for the door. Saga fights back. The two collapse to the floor, struggling over their son, and in the chaos, Kuura breaks free. Then the ending arrives. Kuura raises his small arms, and the room fills with enormous, impossible trees, tearing up through the floor. A branch punches straight through John's chest, killing him instantly. In his final seconds, John finally understands the truth Saga had been screaming for months. It was never her imagination. It was real. And now it's too late. Saga doesn't scream. She doesn't call for help. Instead, she pulls John's heart from his chest and offers it to her son. Then she takes a bite herself. It's the moment her transformation completes. She is no longer just Kuura's mother. She belongs to his world now, fully and permanently. However, that's not quite where the story ends. In the final scene, Saga opens the doors of the house and lets Kuura run free into the forest. For the first time, we see them clearly, the trolls, watching from among the trees, welcoming him home. Saga watches in terror, afraid her son will simply vanish into the woods forever. But Kuura stops. He turns back. He smiles at her. The bond between them is too strong to break. At its core, Nightborn isn't really about trolls or folklore at all. It's about the terrifying honesty of postpartum experience, the exhaustion, the disconnection, the fear that you might not love your child the way you're supposed to. Bergholm takes that very real, very human fear and turns it into something literal and monstrous. Saga's journey isn't about defeating a monster. It's about a mother finally, fully accepting a child the world called wrong. It's worth noting, this next part is fan interpretation, not something the film confirms outright. Some viewers believe Saga's grandmother didn't just fear the trolls in the woods, she may have once been chosen by them too, and spent her life trying to keep her own bloodline away from that fate. If true, Saga wasn't cursed by accident. She may have been destined for this from the moment she was born into that house. What makes Nightborn genuinely unsettling isn't the folklore, it's how relatable the horror feels before the monster ever shows up. The dread of not bonding with your own child, the isolation, the guilt, that's the real nightmare here, and the supernatural twist just gives it a shape we can look directly at. So, with John gone and Saga fully transformed, do you think she made the right choice by staying with her son? What do you think the ending really meant? Let me know in the comments.